Season 2 of Ohio State football. I thought it'd be interesting to kind of take a moment just to reflect on the last season because I didn't really do a ton of stories. It's a little difficult to do so just because you're like coming into a team that already has players which you haven't brought in. Coming into the second season though, we kind of know some of the players. Like for instance, Emmanuel Brady was the running back who sat behind our starter. He wasn't very successful, but he was part of the team. Armando Brown, I'm pretty sure, ran a reverse jet sweep. That was a huge pickup on like third and something in the national championship. He's now our starting wide receiver. Julius Jacobs and Brennan Fisher, I'm pretty sure we redshirted early. Ryder Graham was an all-conference cornerback, and we convinced him to come back with the promise of him getting Defensive Player of the Year. With his 100 overall, he probably will. And then there's also just the fact that like we had quietly, or I made it quiet for sure, the best player that we're probably ever going to see on our team at quarterback. Didn't always feel like it for sure. 76% completion rate. I think the incompletes came in the bigger games, so it's probably skewed a little heavily towards like 60 and 70 in those bigger games. But Trenton Shelton will, if he like goes into the NFL, or he went to the NFL as a first round draft pick, as the first pick, he's the kind of player though who we're just probably not gonna see again, have to verse again, etc. One thing that is kind of interesting to just to check though is if Notre Dame kept James Trejo or Carson Stevenson. So let's just take a look at that. Okay, so it looks like they lost their two star players. Now they have this K Lamb and much lesser running backs. But let's get into the preseason. I already did some of the redshirting, so we'll see that as we go through. Here at quarterback, Malaki Winters is getting redshirted. Wyatt Moore, the walk-on, will be the substitute or backup. He's terrible. I basically just want to preserve Malaki Winters' eligibility status into his junior and senior years by redshirting him this early. But Denzel Atskin is our quarterback through and through. I am actually going to increase his accuracy just so that we have, someone who can complete those short yardage throws pretty easily. And then we have Emmanuel Brady, who's shaping up to be a really good player, maybe kind of low ball carrier vision, but he's going to be our workhorse for sure, just given the ball security, the strength, the route running too. He can actually catch the ball pretty effectively. I think I might increase the route running later. I'm not going to make any changes to Jackson Murphy. He will kind of sit behind Emmanuel Brady and just be there. Emmanuel Brady's work rate's going to be very high. At receiver, we are absolutely stacked. I've set Joe Kane already to fresh, so he's not going to get a lot of reps. He is a redshirt freshman, and we just have a lot of more senior players already in with better overalls. I'm not going to try to increase Joe Kane's route running, although that's something I would do if I felt the need to. Pollard and Brown both caught passes last year. All the other wide receivers, I'm pretty sure we redshirted. So it's going to be cool to see like Cameron Richmond, for instance, develop. Here, I think our receivers are so good that I'm going to ignore this position as well. At tight end, I already know that I'm planning on not really using tight ends that much. An option would be to increase our starting Kyan Moss tight ends route running and just make this 80. Whether I do that, I think will depend on what the O-line looks like, but we'll probably get to doing that anyway later on in training. We have William Whitfield, which was an absolute steal. We didn't work for him at all to get him. Just insane that we have this player. Matthew Jacobs is obviously good as well. I'm pretty sure he started last year as well. We can check that real quick. Yep, he did. And yeah, in terms of what kind of game plan we have for this year, it's definitely going to be balanced. I'm going to be working on this guy's pass blocking just to bring it up to starter standards. And then next we'll also try to increase Justice Parish's pass blocking. But yeah, basically the plan is to try to keep our O-line balanced so we can run effectively. We'll also increase Carl Carpenter's run blocking most likely next. Okay, so we have some trainings we can do. I like to always try to buff the kickers since they are so important. I think here what I'm going to do is increase Solomon Dudley's kicking accuracy and then increase our punter's punting accuracy. The reason for not using Marion Cardenas on punting and kicking both is just because I have this promise and it's pretty easy to fulfill. So we're just going to make sure that his so like that's good to get the promise bonus. So we're just going to make sure we get that bonus and then start Solomon Dundee for all of the big games as a kicker and maybe swap him out from Marion. We don't need him. So yeah, let's increase his punting power and then increase Solomon Dundee's kicking accuracy. So we might be able to make further field goals with this Solomon more often too, but Marion just having like perfect accuracy, personally, that's what I would probably normally go for. On the defensive side of the ball, we're playing a 3-4 this year instead of nickel. So our linebacking ability is the most important thing to buff. I also kind of realized last season how important zone is. So I like zone for linebacking because that's clearly where we got beat quite a bit. And I plan on playing a lot of zone this season. We can actually check how proficient we'll be at our zone defense by going here. So we can see our zone coverage is lacking. I would like to boost this because running zone definitely feels more effective than man coverage whenever an offense brings out some kind of bunch formation or loads one side of the field with receivers, which is a lot of the time in this game. So I think our priority is going to be increasing the zone ability on defense and then also getting to the quarterback faster by increasing block shedding. I'm just curious here to look at what we've got when it comes to our cornerbacks in terms of their ability to cover zone. Seems like it is probably actually a little more favorable for us to be running man when it comes to our cornerbacks. But like I said, I think just in the context of this game, it's more favorable for us to actually be running zone. And also I like running zone more because I feel I can blitz more freely than when I'm in man. So in terms of what I do for this first call, I think I'm just going to make sure that this cornerback zone is better. If I want to run zone more often, starting cornerbacks have to have good zone coverage. And then I might also just buff this player's zone coverage as well, since he will rotate into the starting lineup some. But another option would be to start buffing the linebackers. And I think that's what I'll do with this pass rusher. So cool. Getting a little better at zone coverage. Now we go into recruiting. For recruiting, we have our save filter. You can see the changes that are made here. And then we want to look at points ahead. So we can scout the first few, targeting high overalls and high potentials. and then we can just start targeting. I'm going to actually switch over to a more focused target. So we don't have more than one backup quarterback, and he's really raw. I would like to get a second backup quarterback. So the ones that are kind of easy to grab, I will look at these as well. It's a lot of quarterbacks. I don't know if I'd like a 5'10" quarterback, though. Feels a little weird. What are other needs? Running back. So Emmanuel Brady will be leaving. Definitely want to be looking at who we fill behind him. We only have 10 more recruitments left. We don't need tight ends. We do need receiver. We have 5 receivers graduating. So we can just do like a pretty offensive heavy initial recruitment here. We need more O-linemen. We need a kicker, 2 defensive linemen, and a cornerback later. So because of the way how training camp works, I believe, it'd be better if we diversified a little bit. So what I'll do is I will, oh, interesting. Okay. Yeah, so we'll just try to keep in mind of only like inviting 3 of each position max. Nice. And that was actually not terribly difficult to do. And then with these players that are A grade, we will put some coaching actions towards them. And then the rest, it's mostly just about giving them something. Do we have any defensive players? Probably not, because I went so heavy with receivers. Let's see. Is there anyone else? Okay. So we'll remove this guy. Let's just remove arbitrarily one other guy. How many actions do I have left, actually? 2 camp visits. So let's sort by points ahead. And then the lowest points ahead, let's remove those. So goodbye. And we'll do, I know. We'll use our other filter, which is big hitter. And we'll try to get some of these guys scouted. So we got linebacker. Give me the studs. Defensive lineman. So that's 3, which is what we need. Defensive lineman. Invite these 2 to camp. Actually, we'll do this. A linebacker. Do that. Cool. And so now we're all out of actions. And we can advance. Into spring 2, you already know we're going to be looking at increasing our offensive line's ability. So this Justice Parrish guy, probably with his low pass blocking, I don't even know if he would ever start. We're trying to be balanced. I like increasing this guy's run blocking because there's a good chance it's going to be high. Yeah, so this is like a lot more favorable, and now he's an 80 overall. With Parrish and this Gabriel McCann, the nice thing is that at offense, we don't really have like a ton of things that I think we need to buff. So I guess we will actually just work on both of these guys and make them better. And this just like helps with being able to rotate the entire offensive line to keep everyone fresh at all times. Now I did see some of low strength. Unfortunately, it's actually someone who I've already worked with, so I'm not going to change that. But that would have been a move I might have made had I not already increased his pass blocking. So how to spend our other points? One option would be to just go crazy with the evasion on Armando Brown. I'm pretty sure he'll be our returner if I understand how the game allocates who is responsible for what. Another option would be to increase his speed. Speed's important for the deep ball, less important for the short pass. We're definitely going to be using both. So I might go for speed, although a quarterback's deep ball rating is the weakest aspect of his game. It's pretty good though. I think I'll do Armando's speed. And then I think the rest of my allocation should be towards the defense. Let's see. I think what I'm going to do is increase this player's strength, unless there's something else that I think should be increased. Nope. Let's get that closer to 90. And then I want to increase my player's block shedding. So this player now has 100 block shedding. I think I'll do the same. Well, I think I should look at the linebackers next. So for linebacking, I think we probably just go back to increasing zone coverage. It's important to also have high tackling, but I mean, if we're going to try to run the 3-4 more often, which means that the linebackers will be on the field more often, then increasing zone coverage so that they're able to play personnel down is definitely the smartest thing to do. So I think it's probably best for us to increase zone coverage just so that we're saying that we're playing linebackers more often and they're capable in the zone. Yeah, I mean, our cornerbacks are good with the first four, but when we get past the first four, then it gets a little rough. So let's do scout percentage. We'll keep this player at 78 overall, is really good. We can remove this guy, remove this guy, remove. 76 is kind of interesting. We only need a kicker. I think I'll keep him. That guy's gone. That guy's gone. Okay. So we looked at a lot of running backs and receivers, a lot of receivers. I think now what we should be looking at is offensive line and defense, really. So do early season recruiting. Actually, one thing that I'm going to do, just because we have modifiers that make this easier to get, is look at what kind of options we got with pass coverage, and also, so we can see here that like we're just going to be behind on everything. We're not even like a favorite anywhere. We could actually probably catch up to this 600, this minus 600 Pat Goodman, but linebacker is not a need that we actually have. I'll target this player because it's only 300 that we're behind on. Although it seems like the interest was very low. And here's a safety, so we'll take a look at him. He's another D lineman, another D lineman, another D lineman, and a linebacker. We'll look at him as well. So this is a pretty good mix now. We need to be looking at offensive linemen too, though. Let's clear this filter. So we got like 3 that are definitely high. We might just wait until let's allocate our points here, and then we'll wait until the next to figure that stuff out. So I'm inviting, don't want to invite too many receivers to camp. Of course, we have a lot of receivers that we're looking at, so it's kind of hard not to. I think that defender was a big hitter. Yeah. So that's why I'm switching it out, because of the bonus. Cornerback, linebacker, we'll invite you. Okay. And then our next priority going into next week will be swapping out some of the lesser talent for linemen, for sure. So this week of training, we're going to try to buff the offensive line still. Your pass blocking needs to be better. And then we're also going to be targeting offensive linemen in recruitment. Let's look at linebacker here. So I think we just increase zone with these 2 linebackers in front of me. Now we're a little more balanced. A D line, we could increase the strength of this player. I think that's what I'm going to end up doing. Let's see. Might increase Cameron Richmond's catching, since it's the lowest of all the starters and he's a deep threat. I think I like that quite a bit. And maybe next training we work on our 1 tight end and it just increases route running. So we have a tight end. But I really don't think I'm going to be throwing to him unless he gets like 79 overall maybe. Got one more head coach move I can do. What I feel like working on. Maybe one of the DB's speed. So this guy's speed. $79. Go back to scout percentage. Just checking for any frauds. Compared to this guy. Sayonara. Wow, 83 overall. It's just a day 1 starter. This is a weird one where he's 77. I'm going to keep him since he's ahead of Michigan. Yeah, we keep that guy too. We keep this guy too. Okay. So that only gave us room for 2 recruits. But we already know we need to be looking for offensive linemen. Because both of these players, well, this player is fine, but this player we're behind on, I will make sure to use a invite to training on him. So let's do that immediately. I mean, realistically, both these players should get that action. They're back on all, sort by potential. We can invite this player since he's A+ rating. We'll just target both these players. We're pretty high on both of them. It's also interesting how Oregon is who is taking the lead there. USC should be a good game. So yeah, we'll start scheduling invites. Oops. Steelers from Michigan. And then now we just need to be using our camp move wherever we can. We don't need to be investing that on a B- player. So the ones with the highest scouting percentage that we don't know the potential of, those are the ones that I'm going to invite to camp. What do I have left? Do this. How many running backs are we looking at? Quite a lot. Let's see. I'm a little worried about us not taking offensive line more seriously. It's obviously a big stressor that I had last season while doing recruitment. We got a lot of receivers that we are looking at. Let's do by points ahead. So looking at the points ahead, well, look at the potential actually. Looking at the potential, we could probably get these 4 A receivers if I just focused up. I don't know why I'm targeting these players down here. Over these. You know, these are all pretty big differences. So while like all these players might be nice to have, I think what I'm going to end up doing is just removing them for now so I can look at more O-linemen. The other thing too is like the team, Ohio State, is the kind of team who just needs really good talent. And a potential obviously is better than like a 70 B minus, or like even a high 70 B minus, because A potential means that by senior year they should be playing at that level, and that's, you know, the kind of play that we want. So I think I like this. We have a gain on this guy by 400. We'll get a big gain on this player. This is like an immediate day one starter too. So that allows us to look at O-linemen. Which we've fallen definitely behind on. Yeah, there's like this first, the ones that are like within 500 are the ones I'm gonna go after. And then I think we'll go for the big hitter archetypes if there is any more that we can target and reasonably get. Nope. Does not appear that way. So what about just D linemen? And cornerback. Cornerback is also a need. Okay. That's solid. So we got more recruiting actions that we can use. Sort of a potential, make sure that we're using our actions on actual good players. Yeah, we'll just do these two then. An option would be to actually move this quarterback to this wide receiver, which is what I'm going to do, and just try to get a big lead. Maybe Emmanuel Hill's even better because I have such a huge lead on him. So we'll do. Do we have any visits we can do? Nope. Okay. Well, we will advance. The final preseason summer, my last training. So we talked about increasing our tight ends route running. Now 80. His overall is below 80 though. And then we could look at running back. I think route running makes Emmanuel Brady just a complete back. There's really no one here who I feel strongly about wanting to increase. I might just increase Jason Murphy's ball security, but I also might just not even try to run with him because he has a high chance of fumbling. Oh, I ran out of options, so that's not even a decision I can make. So I think we're just going to focus on the defense, as we don't really have any other options. Let's increase. Let's see, basically all the starters have been buffed, except for the safeties. So what I think is important with our safeties, they've got great zone. All of these guys have great zone coverage. Let's just work on the top two. So for the top two, let's get in here. What do I think is important here? We could do zone coverage just to really solidify that we're a zone team. Tackling's also an option. Well, they both have good tackling. I think I like making this guy's tackling higher. But we can also make his strength better. It doesn't look like strength is a huge factor into safeties because it's not showing up in these attributes. Pursuit is interesting because I think that's your like ability to chase down the ball carrier. But I think it's better to invest that kind of commitment at linebacker. So do I just choose zone or do I do speed? Let's do speed for this player. So he's at 90. So defensive IQ for this player. So he's above 80. The linebacker, let's work on one of the backups. So we can do one DC and one head coach choice. What about block shedding? Does anyone benefit from block shedding? I might just make this guy a better block shedder. Plus that gets him over 80 or at 80. And then we got one more, so we'll do linebacker. We'll just do strength to make this player better. Sort by potential. All these players are obviously good. I think we can remove this kicker, although we just like kind of passively have been getting points on him. We should look at a different kicker though. That's kind of been a mistake of mine. Start removing some of these bad players. We'll keep this Jackson guy because we're ahead. It's not going to be anything for us. And then these B minuses are fine. So we need a different kicker, a different O-lineman too. Actually, I thought we only had 2 O-linemen we're looking at. Looks like we have more than I realized. Let's use our scouting on this player. Yes. Actually, let's clear all these. Remove. It's not the most efficient use of scouting percentage because like these ones that are 20, I can hit once and I'll get the scout report. But we need to make sure that we're filling the O-line. So O-line and kicker are what I need to be looking at. See. So we can try to catch up on Michigan here. I really just want to look at one kicker, I think, and just go all in on them. So I might just remove filtering for that position. And then we might need to look at 3 stars because we're so far behind on the next best thing. Okay, so it looks like training camp is going to have a lot of O-linemen. Should be good. That gives me the flexibility to choose one more thing. Maybe tight end. Our tight ends are just so bad. So we can take a look at this player. Okay, I'm not even going to mess around. Give me the O-lineman. I think Pittsburgh should be good too, I think. So, yeah, we invited a bunch of O-linemen. And then now we sort by potential and make sure that we get the good players. I think Pittsburgh should be a big game. No defensive lineman. Okay. So we'll change him to defensive pitch. And we're out of actions. Let's invite you to Pittsburgh. I'm hoping that Pittsburgh will be ranked high. We can actually check in a way. So where is... Oh, he hasn't been invited. So Pittsburgh last season was number 13. So yeah, this should be a big game. I'll actually probably redo some of my visits for week 2, since I can definitely be confident that that's going to be a big game, since they were number 13 last year. So where are my scheduled visits for week 2? Because I'd like to change all of those. Is there a way for me to see this easily? Doesn't look like it. Some kind of filter that I can use? No. There's an icon that appears when you schedule a visit. We also look at it this way. So a running back and a tight end. Let's get our tight end. Pretty sure it's you. Oh, this is already locked in. I see. Okay. That's just me forgetting that. Well, actually, I don't know if I knew that Pittsburgh was going to be a big game or not. Just get you guys in on Pittsburgh. Anyone who doesn't have a visit, we're just going to do for Pittsburgh, because next week, we don't have the choice to choose differently. So we can do the same thing realistically for USC, because USC will also be a big game, most likely. And we go ahead and advance. I don't feel the need to do any practices. Practices are good, I think, when your team is bad. But my assumption is really that my team is great across the board. It's definitely more balanced than it was last season. So I'm not super worried about being able to run a play. I think it's going to be mostly based on the play calling that I make. So Pittsburgh's actually not ranked. In this season, our talent is 86, 87. So it's a step back offensively, but ironically, I think it's actually better because we won't be so reliant on passing all the time. Cool. Our first game will be versus Pittsburgh, and then we got USC, who's ranked number 14. Next in the next